Concern over power in future Brexit trade talks and climate change targets being delivered are just some of the topics discussed in yesterday's editorials. However, the delay in sanctions on tech companies over online harm was also opened up for debate. The Guardian. The paper's editorial looks to Europe and suggests the UK and the EU are not yet speaking the same language on trade deals. It says, size matters in trade talks, as the UK should have learned from the first phase of Brexit. But British Eurosceptics were slow to grasp the challenges faced by a lone member leaving the single market, when the rest of the European Union can negotiate en bloc. Now that the UK is a third country, the balance of power has shifted further in favour of Brussels. British refusal to adapt is causing bemusement and consternation on the continent. Earlier this week, the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen, spoke dismissively of Boris Johnson's notion of an Australia-style deal. She knows this is a euphemism for no deal at all. It goes on to say, the British side sees only intransigence when Brussels is wary of making exceptions and granting privileges to its neighbour. In Boris Johnson's view, neighbours should do each other favours. The Scotsman. In its editorial it asks if the UK's climate change targets are realistic. It says, as if the cost of HS2 was not enough to give pause for thought, consider the implications of the UK government's climate change ambitions. It has now brought forward a proposed ban on sales of new petrol, diesel or hybrid cars from 2040 to potentially 2032 to hit carbon emission targets, all this ahead of the COP26 summit in Glasgow. Once in effect, only electric or hydrogen cars and vans will be for sale. Moving to a wholesale ban in 12 years presumes, not only that millions of motorists will have switched to electric vehicles, but also that the charging infrastructure will be in place across the UK. Daily Express. Leo McKinstry uses his column to say Prime Minister Boris Johnson keeps proving his detractors wrong. He says, far from acting like a bumbling clown since entering Downing Street, he has emerged as the bold commander of the ship of state. Only last month he unflinchingly decided to give Chinese telecoms giant Huawei a role in the development of Britain's 5G broadband network despite ferocious opposition from the US. To Boris, the need to upgrade our national communications mattered more than American sensitivities. He has been just as ruthless with personnel, as he showed last autumn when he sacked a score of Tory rebels who defied him over Brexit. In January, he forced out Britain's climate change envoy Claire O'Neill, the former Tory MP, while the cabinet reshuffle will provide further evidence of his lack of squeamishness. But his most daring move so for more on this story, visit the news article link.